And at least 6 people are dead after 2 helicopters collided midair over Rio de Janeiro. Fire officials say the crash happened right before 9 local time. The impact sent debris into buildings nearby, and one of the helicopters crashed into an electric car, sparking a large fire. Now, no one on the helicopter survived. Among the passengers was American singer Oliver Tree. Tree performed at Lollapalooza twice, and his debut record, Ugly is Beautiful, was certified gold. He was 32 years old. The cause of the crash is under investigation.
This is one of those videos that nobody ever wants to make, and if you have been following this channel for any length of time, you know that we do not cover everything. We cover the stories that matter, the ones that deserve real attention and real care. And this one hits differently, because this is not a story about controversy or legal proceedings or online drama. This is a story about loss, real, devastating, permanent loss, and it happened yesterday. The American singer, songwriter, director, and one of the most genuinely original creative forces that the internet and the music world has produced in the last decade passed away on Sunday, June 14, 2026 at the age of 32. He was in Brazil as part of his world tour doing exactly what he loved, living the life he had built from nothing, and he did not make it home. 2 helicopters collided in mid-air over Rio de Janeiro and came down in the Recreio dos Bandeirantes neighborhood in the western zone of the city. All 6 people on board both aircraft. There were no survivors. We are going to go through everything that is known about what happened, who was on board, and what the current state of the investigation is. But before any of that,
Cara.
Infelizmente, foram encontradas 5 vítimas sem vida na primeira aeronave, que estava em chamas, e uma vítima sem vida na segunda aeronave, que não estava em chamas. Então, um total de 6 óbitos no local.
rest in peace, Oliver Tree. 6 people, 6 lives, gone in an instant on a Sunday morning in Brazil. Let us start with what is confirmed about the crash itself, because the details that have emerged paint a deeply tragic picture of what happened on that morning. The Brazilian Air Force was called to the scene and deployed specialized teams, including personnel from unmanned aerial vehicle units, to gather data, preserve evidence, and assist in the investigation. The Civil Aviation Agency issued a formal statement confirming awareness of the incident and announcing an investigation to determine the cause of the mid-air collision. 45 military personnel and 15 vehicles were deployed to the scene in total. This was treated from the very beginning as a serious incident requiring a comprehensive investigative response. At this stage, the cause of the collision remains under investigation. No official explanation for why the 2 aircraft made contact in mid-air has been publicly confirmed. What has been confirmed is that all 6 people on board both helicopters lost their lives.
Na primeira aeronave, que estava em chamas, existiam muitos veículos elétricos que estavam também incendiando junto com a aeronave. Então é um incêndio complicado de se combater, são baterias de íon de lítio, um incêndio que produz muita energia.
Now let us talk about who was on board, because every one of these people deserves to be recognized individually and not reduced to a number in a headline. One helicopter carried 5 people. According to reports citing the Brazilian outlet Metrópolis, those passengers were Oliver Tree, Lucas Vinhale, Gaspar Prim, known publicly as Gatsby, and music producer Lucas Brito Chavez, also known as Lucas Frota. The pilot of that aircraft was Alexandre Souza. The second helicopter carried only its pilot, Charles Marcillac. Oliver Tree was 32 years old. He was in Brazil as part of his world tour, having performed in Sao Paulo just recently before the crash.
Foi um barulho assim, tum, aí depois foi outro estrondo bem alto e foi aí que a gente saiu pra poder ver o que era, e quando a gente viu, eram uns destroços voando, porta, e a gente... Meu namorado achou que fosse um carro, eu falei, não, isso não é um carro, era porta de helicóptero. E aqui perto tem um heliponto ali, e aí eu falei, Juan, isso foi um helicóptero, só que eu não sabia que tinha sido uma colisão. E aí a gente viu bem rapidamente um fogaréu, e aí ligamos pro bombeiro, o pessoal do condomínio, né?
As recently as the day before, Saturday, June 13th, he was posting content to social media from his time in Brazil, showing him in the studio and engaging with fans online. He was active, working, doing what he loved. One day later, he was gone. Gaspar Prim, known online as Gatsby, was a 23-year-old Argentinian content creator and YouTuber with a substantial following across multiple platforms.
Go, there we go. I'm not searching for a miracle. Here we go, there we go. I'm not searching for a miracle. Here we go, there we go. I'm not searching for a miracle.
According to reporting, he had 2.83 million subscribers on YouTube and millions of additional followers across social media. Brazilian media identified him quickly as one of the victims. He was known for a distinctive style of content that had generated significant viewership. His most watched video reportedly reached 13 million views. He was clearly someone in the early stages of a significant career, and losing him at 23 is an enormous loss for the Spanish-speaking online creative community. Lucas Brito Chavez, the Brazilian music producer who lived in Miami and went professionally by Lucas Frota, had been traveling with Oliver Tree in Brazil in the days before the crash. According to reports, he had even posted on social media that he had managed to get Oliver Tree to sing forró, a distinctly Brazilian musical style, which was the kind of playful, cross-cultural creative moment that gives you a sense of the energy and fun that the group was experiencing together before everything changed. He was a producer working primarily in house and electronic music and had documented his travels and creative work extensively on social media.
And so when I die, I've set it up, my will is set up that when I pass, my family, no one's going to get a penny. If I have a wife or kids or anything, not getting a penny. I'll get my kids through college. That's the agreement, but they're not going to be a silver spoon. They're taken care of because my dad worked on some stuff in the 2000s. When I die, all the money is going to go back to artists. So I've set up a foundation. It's called Dr. Oliver Tree's Art Grants for Baby Geniuses. And it's set up so that basically the interest generated from my music will take mostly that, but there's also room for other money because when I die, my art will continue.
Charles Marcillac, the pilot of the second helicopter, was described by people close to him as a deeply experienced and highly professional aviator. A person familiar with him told CNN Brazil that he was admired by everyone who flew with him for his seriousness and commitment to his craft. He had music as a personal hobby outside of his work and had shared performances and clips online. He leaves behind a wife and 3 children. Whatever caused that mid-air collision, Charles Marcillac was by all accounts a dedicated professional who loved what he did and who was deeply loved by his family. Alexandre Souza was the pilot of the helicopter carrying Oliver Tree and the other passengers. Investigations are underway to determine the precise sequence of events that led to the collision. Now let us talk about Oliver Tree, because he deserves more than a paragraph in a news update. He deserves a proper, honest tribute from someone who actually paid attention to what he built. Oliver Tree Nickel was born on June 29, 1993 in Santa Cruz, California. He was 32 years old at the time of his tragedy.
To have residuals and probably be worth more than it is now. People will finally appreciate my stupid videos and my stupid songs. That's when people appreciate you when you're not there anymore. Anyways, they might not. Doesn't even make a difference. But historically speaking, artists' worth go up after they die. So the art will continue to make money no matter what.
He had spent essentially his entire adult life building one of the most genuinely distinctive artistic identities in contemporary music and internet culture, an identity so specific, so consistent, and so fully realized that it was immediately recognizable the moment you encountered it. The bowl cut, the oversized pastel tracksuits, the scooter, the deliberately absurdist visual language, the genre-blending music that pulled from alternative rock, pop, hip-hop, and electronic music in ways that should not have worked but absolutely did. Oliver Tree was not following a template, he was creating one, and the fact that millions of people around the world connected with what he was doing speaks to something real about the authenticity underneath all the layers of performance and character work, because however constructed the persona felt, the music itself, the actual songs, had genuine emotional weight. There was real feeling in those tracks underneath all the theatrical packaging that reached people in ways that surprised them. He first gained attention around 2016 and built momentum steadily through the late 2000s, accumulating a fan base that was uniquely dedicated and deeply connected to his work.
My name's Oliver Tree. I'm an adrenaline junkie, and I've done every action sport known to mankind.
There we go. Yeah! Woo! That's how you do it, Oliver!
Honestly, not bad.
Songs like Alien Boy, Life Goes On, Miss You, Hurt, Cash Machine, and When I'm Down became genuine cultural touchstones for a generation of listeners. His music videos were ambitious, creative, and cinematic in ways that went well beyond what most independent or even major label artists were producing. He directed many of them himself and treated every visual project as an extension of the same creative vision that ran through the music. He was also genuinely funny. His online presence, the absurdist humor, the character work, the way he played with his own image and reputation was not just marketing. It reflected a genuine creative sensibility that made him one of the most engaging and entertaining people to follow across any platform. He understood how to use the internet in a way that felt organic rather than calculated, which is an extraordinarily rare thing, and he was, by all accounts, genuinely kind.
When you're angry, you're a jerk, and then you treat me like I'm worth nothing. And no fair. I don't ever want to see you, and I never want to miss you again.
Tributes that have been pouring in since the news broke yesterday have described him repeatedly as someone who was warm, present, and generous with the people he encountered, both fans and collaborators. Actor and comedian Whitney Cummings wrote that he was the best version of what an artist and person can and should be. KSI, the British influencer and musician, expressed complete disbelief that he was gone. Fans who had seen him perform described his live shows as an event. Someone who put everything into every performance and genuinely connected with the crowd in a way that was memorable long after the show was over. He had recently performed at Rolling Loud. He had been on a world tour. He was active, creative, and fully in motion as an artist and a person. He had, by every available indication, so much more to give. He was 32 years old. The tributes that have been coming in since yesterday have been overwhelming in their volume and their sincerity. And they tell you something important about the kind of impact Oliver Tree had on people. Rolling Loud posted a tribute almost immediately after the news broke. Fans across Reddit, across Twitter, across Instagram and YouTube have been sharing memories, posting clips, pulling up his lyrics, and finding new resonance in them given what has now happened. People who saw him perform at festivals describe the experience in terms that go beyond casual appreciation. They describe someone who genuinely made them feel something, who made them laugh and cry sometimes in the same set, who had an energy on stage that was completely unique. One comment that has been circulating said something that I think captures the reaction many people are having, that this is a horrible note to end the week on, that the guy had so much more to do on this planet. That is the overwhelming feeling right now. Not just grief, but the specific grief of potential cut short, of work that will never get made, of songs that will never get written, of experiences that will never happen. There has also been a specific kind of disorientation in the public reaction, because Oliver Tree had, in the past, done elaborate bits and hoaxes, or disappearance as part of his creative persona. Multiple people have mentioned that their first instinct when they saw the news was to assume it was a stunt. That instinct faded quickly as major news outlets began confirming the story. CNN Brazil, AP Variety, TMZ, NBC News, The Hollywood Reporter, all of them reporting the same confirmed facts. This is real, this is not a bit. And that particular dynamic, the brief moment of hoping it might be a hoax before the confirmation hits, has added a layer of surreal sadness to the grief that people are expressing. Because one of the things that made Oliver Tree genuinely special was his willingness to blur lines, to play with reality and fiction, to keep you guessing. That quality, which was such a gift when he was alive and working, made the process of accepting his tragedy slightly harder for people who loved what he did.
My name's Oliver Tree, and last summer I built the world's biggest scooter. Oh my God, I'm gonna make it! I'm gonna make it!
He's doing it! He's doing it! He's really doing it! Wait.
People have also been talking about Gaspar Prim, and his passing deserves recognition that goes beyond a brief mention alongside Oliver Tree's name. At 23 years old, Gaspy had built a substantial presence in the Spanish-speaking content creator community. According to people who followed his work, he was known for a genuinely engaging personality and had been open publicly about personal struggles, including addiction. He had spoken honestly about his history with alcohol and tobacco dependence, about the process of recovery, and about the positive changes he had made in his life, losing significant weight, starting to focus on fitness, and using his platform to send a message about the possibility of change. He was being praised in discussions following his passing for the authenticity and openness with which he had handled those personal struggles in public, and for the positive impact his honesty had on people dealing with similar challenges. He was 23 years old. He had, as the comments flooding social media have noted, genuinely touched people's lives with his work and his honesty. His loss is real and significant to the community that followed him, and it deserves to be treated that way. Now let us address the investigation, because understanding what actually caused this collision is going to matter enormously as we move forward. At this stage, the cause of the mid-air collision remains officially undetermined. Brazilian aviation authorities confirmed that an investigation has been launched. The Civil Aviation Agency issued a statement acknowledging the incident and calling for an investigation into the facts. The Brazilian Air Force deployed specialized teams to the scene to gather data and preserve evidence. Forensic examination of the crash site has been requested. One thing worth noting is that Rio de Janeiro has significant helicopter traffic. According to reports, aircraft frequently operate along coastal routes in the city for private, tourist, and corporate travel. That density of air traffic creates a complex operating environment and makes procedural adherence and communication between aircraft particularly important. Whether the collision was the result of mechanical failure, navigational error, communication breakdown, or some other factor will be determined through the investigation. The Civil Aviation Agency's statement notably included a reminder to passengers that they should verify the status and regulatory compliance of aircraft before boarding. A statement that has prompted some discussion about whether there may be specific concerns around one of the operators involved. At this stage, that is speculative and the investigation has not confirmed any specific cause. What has been confirmed is that the collision was mid-air. The two helicopters made contact in the air before coming down, and that the impacts caused significant damage on the ground, including the fire that spread through the electric vehicle storage lot and the debris that scattered into surrounding buildings and streets. The investigation will focus on flight data, communication records, witness accounts, and physical evidence from the wreckage to reconstruct the precise sequence of events. For now, 6 families are waiting for answers, and the broader public, the millions of people who loved Oliver Tree's music and work, is doing the same. This is a tragedy, a real, permanent, irreversible tragedy. A 32-year-old man who spent his entire adult life building something extraordinary, an artistic identity, a body of work, a relationship with millions of people who found something in his music that they could not find anywhere else, is gone.
If you can dream it, you can do it.
Work all day and then I wake up. Work all day and then I wake up. Work all day and then I wake up. Work all day.
He will not make another album. He will not direct another music video. He will not perform another show. He will not surprise us again with something we did not expect. And he would have. That is the part that is hardest to sit with. Whatever Oliver Tree was going to do next, and based on his career trajectory, his constant creative evolution, and his clear commitment to pushing himself further every time, it would have been something worth seeing. He was not an artist who had peaked. He was an artist who was still finding new ground. The fans who have been posting online since yesterday have been saying it over and over in different ways. He was the same age as me. He had so much more to do. His music got me through so many difficult times. I will not listen to it the same way again. Those reactions across all their different forms are expressions of the same fundamental truth, that Oliver Tree mattered to people in a way that very few artists manage to, and that his absence from the world leaves a real and specific hole that nothing is going to fill. Rest in peace, Oliver Tree. You were one of a kind. Stay weird wherever you are. Rest in peace to Gaspar Prim, to Lucas Vignale, to Lucas Brito Chavez, to Alexandra Souza, and to Charles Marciac, a family man who loved music and left behind a wife and 3 children. 6 people, gone too soon, every single one of them. And there is so much more about Oliver Tree's career and legacy that deserves to be talked about properly, because a brief summary does not come close to capturing what he actually built over the course of his creative life. Oliver Tree started making music seriously as a teenager in the San Francisco Bay Area, initially producing dubstep under a simpler version of his name before evolving into the fully realized artistic identity the world eventually came to know. His first EP, Demons, came out in 2013 under R&S Records, and from that point forward he spent years developing his sound, his visual language, and his persona in ways that were entirely self-directed. What made his eventual breakthrough so significant is that it came on his own terms. He was not a label discovery shaped by committee decisions about what would sell. He was someone who had a fully formed vision of exactly what he wanted to create, and who worked relentlessly until the world caught up with that vision. By the time his 2020 debut album, Ugly is Beautiful, arrived, he had already built an online following that was genuinely invested in him as a creative force. The album confirmed what his fans already knew, that the humor and the absurdist presentation were vehicles for something with real emotional depth underneath. His 2022 album, Cowboy Tears, continued that trajectory, expanding his sonic palette further while maintaining the distinctive character that made his work immediately identifiable. And everything he had been doing professionally in 2026 suggested someone who was building towards something even larger, a world tour, international shows, continued creative output at the same pace he had always maintained. He was one of those artists who genuinely made you excited to see what was coming next, and now there is no next. It is also worth talking about what Oliver Tree represented in a broader cultural sense, because his significance goes beyond the specific music he made and the specific community he built. He emerged at a moment when the lines between music, internet culture, comedy, performance art, and visual media were blurring in ways that the traditional music industry was still trying to figure out how to process. He understood that world intuitively. He understood that a music career in the modern era was not just about the songs. It was about the entire ecosystem of content, identity, presence, and interaction that surrounded and supported the music, and he built that ecosystem with more deliberate creativity and more consistent vision than almost anyone else of his generation. The bowl cut, the scooter, the oversized pastel tracksuits, the deliberately retro visual aesthetic, every element of his public presentation was chosen and maintained with total intentionality. It was a costume, yes, but the costume expressed something real. It said something about individuality, about refusing to conform to expectations, about committing fully to your own weirdness rather than hiding it for the sake of acceptability. His entire career was built around the message that being genuinely yourself, even if that self is strange, even if it confuses people, even if it generates mockery alongside admiration, is the only authentic path. That message reached people, especially young people who were navigating their own experiences of feeling different or out of place. Oliver Tree was not just an artist they liked, he was someone who gave them permission to be fully what they were. That is a rare thing, and it is not replaceable. Oliver Tree directed many of his own videos and was involved in every creative decision around the ones he did not direct entirely himself. The results were consistently ambitious, visually inventive, and deeply funny in ways that never undercut the emotional content of the music. He treated music videos as proper short film projects rather than promotional afterthoughts, and the quality of his visual output reflected that seriousness of purpose. Some of his videos became viral phenomena in their own right, spreading across platforms not because of algorithmic promotion, but because they were genuinely worth watching and sharing. His willingness to commit fully to whatever concept he was executing, to throw himself physically and creatively into performances that required real courage and real commitment, was one of the things that made those videos so memorable. He did not half commit to anything. Whatever the bit was, he was fully in it. That quality extended to his live performances. People who saw him perform consistently described the experience as unlike anything else they had seen. He had real stage presence, real energy, and a genuine ability to connect with a crowd in ways that made the shows feel personal rather than like a standard concert experience. He talked between songs, he was funny, he made people feel included in something, and he clearly loved performing. You could see it in everything he did on stage. He was scheduled for more performances as part of the current world tour. Those shows will not happen now, and the people who had tickets, who had been looking forward to seeing him live for the first time or the fifth time, are dealing with a specific and particular kind of loss that sits alongside the broader grief of his tragedy. Brazil had been good to Oliver Tree in the days before the crash. He had performed in Sao Paulo and was clearly having a genuinely wonderful time in the country. His social media posts from that period showed someone who was present, engaged, happy, and fully immersed in the experience of being in Brazil, experiencing the culture, making music, connecting with people. The studio session photos from the day before showed him doing what he did best, finding creative energy in collaboration and in new environments. That image of someone alive and working and enjoying life the day before a sudden and devastating accident is one that has been hitting people particularly hard because there was no warning. There was no indication that anything was wrong or that anything terrible was coming. He was just living his life, doing his job, being himself, and then he was not. That is the nature of this kind of loss. It comes without preparation, without farewell, without the gradual adjustment that other kinds of losing someone allow for. One day he was posting from a studio in Brazil. The next day, 6 people were gone from the world. The response from the music and entertainment community since the news broke has been significant and continues to grow. In the coming days and weeks, there will be more information emerging about the investigation into the crash. Aviation authorities in Brazil will be working to determine the precise cause of the mid-air collision. Flight data will be analyzed. Communication records will be reviewed. The physical evidence from both crash sites will be examined. All of that work takes time, and it is important that it is done thoroughly, both for the sake of the families of the 6 people who lost their lives and for the broader public interest in understanding how 2 aircraft operating in a busy urban airspace came to collide. Whatever the investigation reveals, it will not change what has already happened. 6 people are gone. Oliver Tree is gone. And the world of music, internet culture, and creative performance is a smaller and quieter place today than it was on Saturday. There will be tributes, there will be posthumous releases almost certainly, there will be retrospectives and documentaries and analyses of what he built and what it meant. All of that is coming and all of it is deserved. But right now, in this immediate and raw moment, what matters most is simply acknowledging the loss, sitting with it, not rushing past it toward the next story. Oliver Tree was 32 years old. He was a singular creative force who built something genuinely original and genuinely meaningful. He touched the lives of millions of people, and he deserved a much longer life than the one he got. That experience is one of the strange and bittersweet dimensions of losing an artist. The work remains, the songs are still there. You can still press play and hear his voice and hear exactly what he created with such total commitment and such genuine feeling. The music does not disappear when the person who made it is gone. And in that sense, Oliver Tree is not entirely gone, because the work he left behind is real, and it will continue to reach people and mean things to people for as long as people are listening to music. That is the legacy. That is what 32 years of relentless, genuine, fully committed creative work produces. Something that outlasts the person who made it. Something that continues to give even after the person who gave it is no longer here to see it land. Oliver Tree built that kind of legacy at 32 years old in a career that was still building. Rest in peace. The music will carry you forward.